Welcome to the Casual Dance Teachers Podcast, brought to you by casualdanceteacher.com. I'm your host, Maya. No matter who, what, or when you teach, I'm here to share all my best tips and tools along with real and practical conversations with fellow dance educators to help you be the very best dance teacher you can be. Let's talk about it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show and welcome to our first interview of season 3. I'm so excited. Doing interviews with other dance teachers and professionals in the industry in general is my favorite part about having this podcast, I think. It's just such a dream come true for me, and I always kind of like fangirl and get so excited that I have the opportunity to talk to such amazing folks. And today is no exception by any means. I will preface the interview by just explaining a little bit about why I chose to have this be the first interview of season 3 of the podcast. So today we're going to be talking about teaching dance classes for homeschool families, or specifically having programs that are specifically designed for homeschool families. And to be honest, this isn't really something that I had ever thought about in my journey as a dance teacher. I had never taught classes for homeschool families. It hadn't even really occurred to me until this past year when I made the decision to homeschool my son. So at the time I'm recording this, actually, we just started formally homeschooling, and he's a kindergartner. This journey of discerning if homeschooling was a good fit for us has been going on for over a year now, and so I've been giving it a lot of thought. I've been talking to a lot of homeschool families, looking into different programs, how people structure curriculum, all of these things around homeschooling. And so, of course, it got me thinking, wow, homeschool families often have a different set of needs. Their schedules look very different. They're looking for opportunities to enhance their homeschool curriculum. So when I connected with today's guest and heard a little bit about her program and her history with working specifically with homeschool families, I could not believe that I had found the person that I was kind of looking for or thinking that I needed to have on the show to talk about what it could look like to have your own program for homeschool families or offer some kind of programming that's specifically designed for homeschoolers. Now, one more little housekeeping thing before I get into introducing today's guest, who's absolutely fabulous. She's so well spoken. But I do want to say the audio on this particular interview did not turn out quite as crisp and clear as I would like it to be. And maybe this is just me kind of trying to give a little hear me out, because this is the first interview episode of the season. If you've listened to previous seasons, you probably know with these virtual interviews, there's a lot of factors that are beyond our control. There's never a guarantee exactly how the audio is going to turn out. And there's nothing that I think is going to be really difficult in listening to today's episode. However, again, with it being the first interview episode of season 3, if you are just joining us and you're listening to this and you say, oh, the audio isn't as clear as the introduction or as the prior episode that came out, that's not the norm for all interviews, but I'm really most concerned about the content. What are we learning? What are we able to take away? So I still wanted to, of course, share this episode with you. I'm just giving you that little preface. They're not all going to sound like that. There can be some fluctuation with the quality, but moving forward, I do hope that the sound quality of every episode in season 3 is going to be nice and crisp and clear for you, because that is something that's important to me. So with that said, and without any further ado, I'm really, really excited to introduce to you today's guest, Joli Drain. Joli lives in Fort Worth, Texas, where she and her husband have raised 4 children, and she is the director of Miss Joli's Cottage School of Fine Arts, a dance, art, and music school founded in 2020. Joli trained with the Fort Worth City Ballet and later with Texas Ballet Theater. She earned her degree in early childhood education and communication from the University of North Texas and has been a dance instructor for over 30 years. Joli founded a faith-based homeschool dance program in 2002 called Grace in Motion in Louisville, Kentucky, which quickly developed into a co-op for mothers sharing talents and skills. Before opening cottage school, she was a longtime instructor at North Central Ballet in Fort Worth, Texas. She also served as the dance instructor for the Arts Council Northeast's Summer College for Kids program. Joli has dedicated her life to working with children and the arts, and I'm so excited for you to hear more about her heart for that mission. Without further ado, here's Joli. Joli, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I'm so excited to talk to you.
I'm very excited to talk to you. My favorite subject.
Yes, and this is the subject that's like occupying all of my mental space and energy right now because, as you know, I'm going to be starting homeschooling my son for kindergarten in just a couple weeks from when we're recording this. And it's really got me thinking about, the opportunities for dance teachers as far as like from a business standpoint and from an educational standpoint to work with homeschool families. And also, of course, as a homeschool family, how can we take all the opportunities available to us in the community and make sure that we're taking advantage? We're not just like sitting at home with a book all day, right? So I am super excited to get into this. I want to start by just hearing a little bit about your dance background in general. And then, of course, what led you to start offering, I guess, your programming background, and specifically what led you down the path of offering programming for homeschool families?
Yeah, I of course danced as a child like all of us and just loved it so much and started teaching when I was 15. I think I taught my first class. And when I had kids of my own and certainly started homeschooling on my own, I wanted to keep that dancing up. At the time, I was also an adoption counselor, but I wanted to give my daughter a chance to dance. And at the time, homeschool families, we're talking like mid-90s. So homeschooling looked a lot different than it does today. And a lot of those families wanted to offer like what their skills were. And moms kind of team up and I don't know how to say, like just bring all of our giftings to the table and what could we do for each other and kind of barter services, so to say. So I started this program called Grace in Motion with like 12 kids the first season. And it was kind of a way that I could teach my own daughter and get her, like she did ice skating. We did, some other various things, but it grew so fast because just there were a lot of families that wanted dance lessons. And so those dance days looked like me teaching, what I needed to teach my daughter, but then I would go to the studio and other parents would take care of my other younger kids so that I could teach their kids, but we were all kind of sharing our giftings of what we could teach. So it was kind of a curriculum-based thing as well. And then that grew so fast. It grew so fast. So like within 2 years, I had nearly 50 kids.
Wow.
And it, the hours kind of banked onto that. And then I realized like I really love this type of program. I love the family involvement. And then it couched for a while. We had a big move to Texas. And when I started teaching more, classical ballet classes and things like that, my heart was still in the family. I had great bonds with the mothers of the class and the nurturing side of classical ballet, of mothering the students and things like that. But then 2020 came, the world shut down, and I just had a dream of and I had time to think. I had time to think what is important. Also, I lost my father. And I think when you lose a parent, you rethink your life on things. So I think I'm jumping ahead on questions, but in 2020, that dream of the program that I now run, it just was like, my brain was able to absorb all of the details of how I would do it. And it's incorporating, tap, ballet, art, music. It's more of a fine arts program, both visually and performing arts. So it's kind of a blend of things, but that really reaches to the homeschool families.
Okay, speaking of jumping ahead with the questions, this does bring to mind some of the other questions that I had mentioned maybe talking to you about later, but definitely ties in. So let's see, where do I want to go from here? I think what I want to know related to that is, are you offering this as this is going to cover this subject, this subject, this subject? Are you giving the homeschool families any, let's say, like a printout or feedback on what was covered in the classes? Or are you just kind of like bring them in, letting them do their thing, and then let the homeschool families decide for themselves how that fits in with what their homeschool goals are?
Right. The main basis of it is letting them know, we have a theme for the year, a show theme. And so when I mentioned that we do art as well, like we'll pick artists who maybe relate to some form or fashion to that theme, circus theme, Wonderland, Broadway, whatever. Let's just take Broadway, for instance. The families all knew I was doing a Broadway themed show, and we studied Broadway shows that had children in them, and we can then look at expressions. So this show in particular had avenues that I could route into my curriculum of, most of the time we smile big. Our performance space is smiling, but let's look at It's a Hard Knock of Life. That brought on a whole different, the kids see acting kind of coming in. So I have a very free form curriculum, and the parents have given me great liberty with that. If I feel like I'm really engaging some tap rhythm things one day, the kids are really clinging on that with me, we will explore it deeper. And they're here with me for an hour and a half. So nice. Within that time, we're doing ballet and tap, and then we alternate art and music.
Okay.
So 1 week we're doing art lessons. 1 week we're doing more music-based lessons. I love it. I can't tell you what getting to show kids the visual and performing, just the different aspects of all of that. They're such little sponges, and getting to give them bits of information in all the different areas and watching what one particular class might gravitate to more than another helps me plug their personalities into our performances, because they took ownership of how our class rolled a little bit more. My personal kids are adults now, and I really love the chance looking back, thinking, what would I have wanted to foster in them now that I saw how fast it all went? What would I love for someone, another adult mentor in their lives, to see this spark in them and pull it out? And the homeschool program gives me space to have a smaller group. I'm not running a big studio where I've got large scale classes, like 20 kids at the bar or something. I have smaller group classes, and I'm able to sit with them and banter with them on things a little bit more. It's just a very out of the box program.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I think, a lot of homeschool families, that's what they're looking for. And that's why they gravitate to homeschool, because the box just doesn't fit their family. At least that's the experience, for me and my son being on the autism spectrum. We've tried the box. The box is really challenging. So we have to be outside of the box. And that's wonderful. Like, one of the things that you said earlier that I think really speaks to probably the strength and the growth of your program is that you really leaned into the nurturing side of classical ballet. And the first thing that I thought was, oh, is there a nurturing side to classical ballet? Because of, my training and a lot of the classical training, it doesn't have a lot of nurturing. And so I think that's wonderful that you are making a place for that for your families. And I'm curious, outside of that, what are some other things that you sort of attribute the growth? You said it grew so fast in just 2 years. What do you attribute that to?
I think it's just that there was a lack of opportunity. A lot of studio classes are in the evenings, and a lot of it was because it was a lot of friend-based, people who knew me. And so it was friends pulling together their children in this homeschool group, and then word just got out. And the program that I have now, we just celebrated. We're going at our 6th year, obviously 2026. And it's also word of mouth. It is just a very fun thing to see friends reaching out to friends. And some of the kids that I have been here all of the years. Mm-hmm. They stay and they grow. And, I can take the time to watch for the ones who really do want to become dancers. And I know the programs in my town, and I know where they could, if they seem like they're very technically gifted and they really want a ballet foundation, I know where I can send them. But if they're just kids who are like, I want to go to dance class, but I don't want to spend the majority of the time at the bar, or, I really want to dance. I want to dance, and that freedom, that's what I can give to them. We do all of the things that I would normally do in a class, but I spin it in the way that they don't feel like they are stuck there. I don't know how to, I hope that makes sense to everybody listening. I can frame the class in a way that they're moving more and they're thinking more on their own. And because of the smaller group size, it is a little bit more personal. So I do have homeschool day classes and regular evening classes as well. So you had asked me once, do some of the kids come back for the day and the evening? And typically no, particularly they love their group class. The glory of running a homeschool-based program, or a home-based program, let me say, is that I keep my numbers very small. So I'm right around 50 students right now. Mm-hmm. And then I will cap that. That will be my cast list for the year. Mm-hmm. And those kids will have opportunities to be together as a full cast through parties, through family. They paint all of their props and sets for our show. So we have painting parties, summer camps, all the things, but it's in a family included environment. So the parents and the siblings who also perform in our shows. We just had about 15 dads doing If I Were a Rich Man from Fiddler on the Roof in June, and they were amazing.
That's great. So are you doing a group class for all ages together?
I did before. I'm not right now. Okay. And that is it. That is a good thing, that I do have that freedom to add that. Just a couple of years ago, I did have a sisters class where it was like 5-year-old sister and 3-year-old sisters. I just happened to have 3 sets of that. Wow. And those moms wanted to put them together, and they were moms who were friends. And I'm like, sure, I'll create a class. I have the freedom to do that. And I love it. I love that. The flexibility and the ebb and the flow. My seasons are never the same.
Yeah. So. And it sounds like you're also sort of shaping the program to an extent on the students that are in the classes and what the sort of the parents and the family's goals are. Is that accurate?
Yes, absolutely accurate. They can tell me those things and I can make it happen. We can study, who are some classical ballerinas we need to know, and what are their stories? Mm-hmm. Where did they come from? Let's take a minute and reflect on, they were kids your age once. And let's take the time that would be normally spent in just the rigorous things to study that. Or let's study the breakdown of the stories. Or let's learn about Bojangles or, Shirley Temple or, different things like that. The history of dance a little bit more as well. I can have them write reports. I can test vocabulary. I can bring in boys and make that integrated as well in a way that's comfortable for everybody, to make them feel like this is their class, like they're the leaders of the class, when it's usually the girls traditionally are the leaders of the class. I can make it both ways. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like, as a homeschool parent, I'm listening to this and I'm like, what a gold mine, because here, you could cover history, learning about historical figures, obviously art, civics. I'm only at the kindergarten level, so maybe not like when you're at the high school level, but at the kindergarten level for civics and first and second grade, it's like working as a team, the fact that there are rules and boundaries, understanding limited resources and how we work with. So when they're creating their own props and sets and working on a show together, that covers civics goals, English language arts if they're writing reports, and even if they have to like measure for costumes or measure for set pieces, then you have your math. There's so much here that can be incorporated into homeschool curriculum.
And on costumes, I'm a big, I love letting them help create costumes. And we often stick with a very basic something and add to it. It's trying to take it back to the roots of all of that and let them be the creators and not telling them, of course I'm leading the theme, but giving them as much liberty and ownership in it and watching them. And also when we do performances, they are all on the front row. It is a very much a group effort. And these kids are in usually 5 different acts in a show. Opening song, we do some sign language. We do their tap, their ballet, their closer song, a final song. They're just in so many different things. So they're on and off the stage a lot. And that's because we can have that small group feel. And again, the parents are on and off the stage, and the brothers are a lot of times have some cameo or stagehand or something like that. So
yeah. Oh, so cool. So it sounds to me like a lot of this has just grown organically, and like people are just drawn to your passion and your nurturing nature. But I do want to also kind of take a look at this from a business perspective as like an opportunity. I know a lot of studio owners specifically, or maybe dance teachers that are wanting to branch out and do something. Maybe right now they work for a studio, they want to do something on their own, and see that offering programming for homeschool families would be a really great opportunity to use unused studio space or be able to offer classes if you don't have evening availability. So I just want to pick your brain a little bit. If you were wanting to start or grow a homeschool program, what are some things that you think work to kind of capture that market? Advertising, marketing, like I said, I'm sure a lot of it works better organically, but where are you finding these people in the community? How are you reaching them, and what's most effective to kind of capture that audience?
Well, Facebook is a huge place, or Instagram is a huge place in our neighborhood. Our community where we live has a big neighborhood presence. So a lot of it also is just being a older mom and being in the community for so long that people kind of know who I am and have known me from teaching in the past at the ballet company I was at. Okay. So starting it, when I had my first homeschool program, I looked for a studio that had open space that I could rent the studio during the day. And that's how I ran that program, was through that space.
Okay.
This Cottage School of Fine Arts that I currently have, I have a studio in my home. And for 13 years prior to all of that starting, I ran an in-home daycare program for teacher friends of mine, which again was word of mouth. But I had that kind of licensing background for child care. So kind of blending those two worlds. But COVID really tipped that off into, can that even work? From teaching Zoom classes, which were dreadful, right? For anyone who had to teach class through Zoom, realizing that I can do this. And because my classes are limited, I take 4 kids at a time.
Okay.
So that's how small, but over the course of the week, that blends into a program of 50 kids.
Yeah.
So I work set days, set hours. And again, that's the glory of being able to design the program around what life is really happening. I have 4 kids and a grandchild. So, life is really busy, but this was very manageable and it's working out great.
Great. Well, the next step really, because we're getting short on time, I know I've thrown a lot out there. There's definitely a lot more to learn. And so I just want to kind of turn it over to you for anyone that wants to connect or learn more. How can they find you? How can they connect with you? What are any resources that you want to share with the listeners?
Yeah, I am on Facebook is the easiest way. It's Miss Jolie's Cottage School of Fine Arts. Also on Instagram there. And I would love to talk to anyone who is as passionate about the subject. It's been really fun to think more broadly.
Yeah, I know we didn't really get into it too much, but you have told me a little bit about your previous teaching history. And I think turning that around to follow this literal dream that you had of what a dance program could be and really leaning into the heart that you have for fostering the creativity of the students in so many different avenues is really wonderful. And it's been so great to connect with you and learn more about that. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, and obviously you are such an inspiration, but do you have any inspirational quotes about dance or, anything with creativity that you want to share to close?
This is actually a quote that a student of mine wrote, and it came up on my memories, and I love it so much. She said, "Ballet is dreaming on your feet. Ballet is an art. I'm the brush, the floors are a canvas, my shoes are the color, and my moves create a free drawing."
Wow.
And I love that so much because she felt so beautiful in her skin, beautiful in her feet, beautiful in her dance, that she was emotionally touched. And I'm like, that is the greatest gift. Like that, to be a part of pulling that out in a kid is a absolute gift. So it was beautiful.
Folks, this is Maya hopping back in just to say thank you again for listening. Thank you so much to Joli for the fabulous conversation. And I hope you all took something out of it because I think the way that she has approached her particular niche is so inspiring and she has such passion for it that all of us as dance educators can really take something out of that. Now, if you have more to share or any follow-up questions or just want to learn more, be sure to check out casualdanceteacher.com for all of our resources, past episodes, curated playlists, and more. You can also join us in our Facebook group, the Casual Dance Teachers Network, or follow me on Instagram at the Casual Dance Teachers Podcast. As always, thank you to GB Mystical for the theme music that opens our show, and I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.